The plate is warm. Zarya feels it the moment she steps through the door of Suite 1416, heat rising off the white china, filling the space between her hands and the tray like a small, quiet promise. Filet mignon. Roasted fingerling potatoes. A single sprig of rosemary laid across the top like it was placed there by someone who cared deeply about presentation and nothing at all about eating. Nobody has touched this food. She moves toward the dining table. 12 feet. Her body knows the distance, not from this room specifically, but from every room like it, every cart she has rolled down every carpeted hallway on this floor for the last 3 years. Step, pivot, set the tray, remove the cover, confirm the order, exit. Clean. Professional. Gone. She gets 6 feet in before she stops. He is sitting in the leather chair by the window. Not on his phone. Not watching television. Not doing anything a person normally does when they are alone in a room at 11 o'clock at night. He is just sitting, still the way water is still right before something breaks its surface. Dressed entirely in black. A tattoo climbs the left side of his neck, dark ink curling up toward his ear in a pattern too deliberate to be decoration. His hands rest open on his knees. His eyes are already on her. Not the way guests look at staff. Not that quick, dismissive pass that lands on the uniform and slides off the person wearing it. This is a different kind of looking. This one has weight. This one has already decided something. Hi viewers, have you ever been in a room where someone looked at you and you could feel them seeing things you never said out loud? Drop a comment and tell me, what would you have done if you were standing in Zarya's shoes right now? Zarya's feet carry her the remaining 6 feet on muscle memory alone. She sets the tray on the table. Her hands do not shake. She is proud of this. It is a thing she has earned through years of holding herself together in rooms where she had every reason to fall apart. The plate sits between them. Cold now at the edges. Going colder. $42. She knows that number the way she knows her electricity bill, her daughter Camille's school lunch balance, the copay on her mother's last dialysis appointment. Numbers are how she keeps track of the world. Numbers are honest when everything else is not. She turns toward the door. Takes 3 steps. And stops. The silence behind her has a shape. A weight. It is not the silence of a man who has forgotten she is there. It is the silence of a man who is watching her leave and waiting to see if she will. She turns around. He still has not moved. His eyes are still on her face. And Zarya understands, standing in the amber warmth of Suite 1416 with a cold plate of untouched food between them, that she is not going to walk out of this door without saying what she came here to say. The thought frightens her more than she expected. She speaks before the fear can change her mind. Excuse me. The words land clean in the quiet room. Her voice does not waver. 3 years of absorbing silence and navigating rooms that were never meant for her has given her a voice that holds under pressure. He does not respond. Does not move. He holds her gaze with that same patient, settled attention, like a man who decided some time ago that he would never again be in a hurry about anything. Zarya keeps going. Once she starts, stopping feels worse than finishing. You haven't touched the food. A pause. One breath. If it's just going to go to waste, if you're finished for the evening, I was wondering if I could take it. For myself. The room does not change. The lamp still burns amber. The city still blinks 40 floors below. But something in the air shifts the moment her words stop, tightens, the way air tightens before weather moves in. He says nothing. 1 second. 2. The air conditioning breathes somewhere above them. She counts her heartbeats because she needs something to count, something steady to hold on to while this man sits across from her and gives her nothing. 3 seconds. He reaches forward, and her body goes tight, but he only picks up the glass of water from the end table. Takes 1 slow, deliberate drink. Sets it back down in exactly the same spot. Like a man who never does anything without knowing exactly why he is doing it. His eyes come back to her face. 4 seconds. 5. Zarya does not shift her weight. Does not cross her arms. does not perform discomfort. She made a decision to stand still, and she is standing still, and the silence keeps stretching past what is normal, past what is professional, into something she does not have a category for. He leans forward. Just an inch. Just enough to change the quality of his stillness, make it sharper, more directed, like a question that has not been spoken yet but is already in the room. How long? He says. Have you worked here? His voice is low. Not quiet, low. The kind of sound you feel in your chest before your ears fully register it. No warmth in it. No aggression either. Just the clean, flat weight of a question that already knows it is in charge of this conversation. Zarya blinks once. 3 years? She says. Almost 4 in February. He nods. One slow movement. His eyes do not leave her face. And the plate of food sits between them, untouched, cooling, the rosemary dry now, and he still has not answered her. She starts to understand this is not going to be simple. He still has not answered. Instead, he asks another question, and this one lands differently. Harder. Like a second knock that tells you someone is definitely there, and they are not leaving. Do you live in the city? Zarya steadies herself. This is not a guest-to-staff question. There is no professional logic behind it. He is not asking about the service or the hotel, or anything that has a clean, workable answer. He is asking about her, where she goes when she is not standing in this room. Yes, she says. East Side. About 12 minutes on the bus. He nods. Logs it. Says nothing. She watches him receive her answer the way a man receives information he already knew, not surprised, not satisfied, just confirming. The food on the table has crossed from dinner into something else entirely. It is past warm now. Past salvageable. And still he has not answered. The silence this time stretches to 6 seconds. She counts every one. You're not going to answer my question, she says. Not asking. Stating it. Something crosses his face, quick, controlled, gone. Not yet, he says. Zarya takes a breath. Holds it 1 beat. Lets it go without the frustration she is actually feeling, because frustration in a room like this, with a man like this, is a card she cannot afford to put on the table. She takes 1 step to the side, not toward the door, not toward him, just repositioning, and she looks at him directly. Past the tattoo and the black clothes and the particular quality of his stillness. Into his face. He is younger than the room makes him seem. There are no soft edges anywhere on him, not in his jaw, not in his eyes, not in the line of his shoulders. But there is something behind the control. Something that has been pressed on hard and did not break, and is not done carrying whatever it was that pressed on it. What are you actually doing right now? She asks. She did not plan to ask this. It came up from somewhere below planning. The silence that follows is the longest one yet. 8 full seconds. She is certain he will not answer. Watching you, he says. 2 words. No explanation attached to them. Just the 2 words, dropped into the room like stones into still water, and then the ripples going out. Zarya stands with them. The plate is cold. The city is bright behind him. And the conversation she thought she walked into, a simple ask, a yes or no, a plate of food, has become something she does not recognize anymore. She did not walk in on him. He was waiting for her. He stands. Not fast. Not sudden. He unfolds from the chair the way a decision unfolds, fully, without hesitation, with the understanding that whatever comes next has already been settled. He is taller than the chair suggested. His shoulders carry the kind of width that comes from real life, not a gym. He moves to the near side of the table and stops there, and now the plate of cold food is between them and the room is a different size than it was 30 seconds ago. Your name, he says. Zarya. He says it once. Flat. Like a word he is placing somewhere he can find it later. You have a daughter. Her jaw tightens. 1 beat. She controls it. How do you know that? I own 12% of this building through a holding company, he says. I saw the photograph on your supply cart in the hallway this evening. A little girl. Missing her front teeth. Camille. 7 years old. Photographed last March in her school uniform with both front teeth gone, and a smile so wide it took up half her face. Zarya printed that photograph the day it came home in Camille's backpack and taped it to her cart because on the long shifts, the 12-hour ones, the ones where her lower back aches from the 3rd hour and her feet stop registering pain around the 8th, that photograph is the only thing that makes the last hour feel worth pushing through. My daughter, Zarya says, has nothing to do with a plate of food. No, he agrees. She doesn't. Then why bring her up? He looks at her without blinking. Her father. Is he present? The question is direct. No pity wrapped around it. No performance of sensitivity. Just the question, clean and aimed, waiting for an answer. Not present, she says. 2 words. A door closed. He nods. Receives it exactly as she gave it. No commentary, no adjustment, no look of practiced sympathy. Just acknowledgement. Like she told him the weather. She finds, against everything she expected to feel, that she does not hate him for asking. It's just the 2 of you, he says. My mother lives with us, she says. She's unwell. 3 words she did not plan to say. They were out before the decision caught up with them, and she is sharply, quietly aware of how much ground she has given in the last 3 minutes. Her name, Camille. Her mother, the East Side, the bus. He has collected each piece without pressure, without offering a single thing in return. Just questions. Just silence. Just that steady, unreadable face. He moves to the window. Stands with his back to her. The city spreads out below him. Towers and light, and the low white noise of 10 million people who do not know this room exists. You returned $80 to a guest in room 1412 last month, he says. The wallet was open on the cart. The guest did not ask for it back. No one was watching. The room goes absolutely still. Zarya says nothing. Because there is nothing to say to a man who already holds the most private proof of who you are and is now simply telling you he has been holding it. He turns back from the window. The control in his face is still there, solid, unshifted, but there is something else now underneath it. 1 degree warmer. Not enough to name. Just enough to feel, the way you feel a room is warmer before you understand why. 13 people, he says. 13 staff members on this floor in 6 weeks. I set up situations. Small ones. A wallet left open. An uncounted tip in an empty room. A room service overcharge no one would catch. He pauses. 13 out of 13 took something that was not theirs. Zarya is very still. And the 14th, she says quietly. Knocked on your door and asked? Yes. The word lands without decoration. Without triumph. Like a fact that was going to be a fact regardless of how either of them felt about it. She looks at the plate between them, the cold steak, the pale potatoes, the dried rosemary. She looks at it the way you look at something that has just revealed itself to be something entirely different from what it appeared to be when you first picked it up. She asked for leftovers. She walked through that door holding a tray and carrying a number in her head, $42, the price of the food, also the price of her electric bill this month, and she thought she was making a simple, honest, careful ask. She was not. Why didn't you take it before you knocked? He asks. Earlier tonight. The suite was empty. The cart was right there. No one in the hallway. Because it was not given to me, she says. It was going to be thrown away. That is not the same thing as being given to me. She says it evenly. Without heat. Wasted and offered are 2 different words. I know the difference. He is quiet for a moment. Something behind his eyes shifts, a thought moving fast, landing somewhere she cannot see. Most people, he says, would call that stubbornness. Some people would call it the only thing I actually own, she says. He takes 1 step toward her. Not aggressive. Not sudden. Measured. He is close enough now that she can see the tattoo in detail. Not random, not decorative, every line deliberate, every curve placed like a choice that could not be taken back. I've been in this building for 6 weeks, he says. Operational review. I needed to understand what I actually own. A pause. I found out. He reaches past her, picks up the plate from the table, sets it directly in front of her, not sliding it across, not offering it at arm's length, but placing it in front of her the way you place something in front of someone when you are finally ready to stop being indirect about what you mean. His eyes come up and hold hers. No, he says. I want to know what you do when what you asked for is actually being given to you. He steps back, folds his hands, waits. And Zarya stands there with the cold plate in front of her, and the city blinking behind him, and the full weight of a question she did not walk in here expecting to have to answer pressing down on her chest like a hand. She does not move. Not yet. She leaves the plate where it is. Does not touch it. Does not reach for it. She straightens, shoulders back, chin level, and she looks at him with the same direct attention he has been giving her all night, and she says, "Tell me what this is really about." Not please. Not if you don't mind. Just the question, standing on its own. Something in his face changes. Slow. Controlled. But real, the way ice changes when warmth finally reaches it, not all at once, not dramatically, but in a way that cannot be reversed. I'm acquiring the full property, he says. The holding company finalizes ownership in 30 days. When that happens, I need someone to run operations. He says it simply, the way a man states a plan he has already decided on. Not a manager. Not someone from a staffing agency. Someone who cannot be bought, cannot be flattered, and does not take what has not been given to them. Zarya listens. Does not speak. Does not move. She listens the way she listens to everything, completely, without performing a reaction before she has actually processed the words. You are the only person on this floor, he continues, who passed every situation I set up. The wallet. The overcharge. Tonight. His eyes stay on her face. 3 for 3. You tested me without telling me, she says. Yes. That doesn't bother you. No, he says. Testing people when they know they're being tested tells you nothing. It tells you what they can perform. I needed to know what you actually are. Zarya is quiet for a moment. She is turning this over, not because she cannot understand it, but because she wants to understand it fully before she responds to it. She has learned, over years of making decisions with very little room for error, that the most expensive mistakes come from reacting before you have finished thinking. What I actually am, she repeats. Yes. And what is that? He does not answer immediately. When he does, the words are measured, not rehearsed, but chosen. Someone who pays the higher price on purpose, he says. When no one is making her. The room is quiet. Zarya looks at the plate. At the cold food she asked for, that was tested over, that is now sitting in front of her like the period at the end of a very long sentence. She looks at it for 3 full seconds. Then she looks back at him. My mother's treatment schedule, she says. It runs 3 days a week. I need shifts that accommodate that. Non-negotiable. He does not blink. Noted. And I will need the offer in writing before I agree to anything. That was already the plan, he says. Something settles in the room. Not fully, not yet, but something. The kind of settling that happens when 2 people who have been measuring each other finally arrive at the same number. She picks up the plate. Not rushed. Not grateful in the way that shrinks you. Just a clean, quiet claim, this was offered, so she takes it. That is all. That is exactly all. But the moment her hand closes around the edge of the plate, he says, One more question. She stops. His voice is careful. Quieter than it has been all night. Why did you come back to the door? He says. After you had already turned to leave. Before you said anything. What made you stop and turn around? Zarya holds the plate. The city blinks behind him. The lamp burns amber and warm. She had not planned to answer that question tonight. She is not sure she has ever answered that question for anyone. She sets the plate back down. Not because she is giving it up, she is not giving it up, but because this answer deserves both her hands free. This answer deserves to stand on its own without anything else in the way. Because I have spent 3 years in this building, she says, being exactly what this job needed me to be. Invisible. Efficient. Gone before anyone noticed I was ever there. And I am very good at it. I have gotten so good at it that some mornings I have to remind myself that I am a person and not just a function. She pauses. He does not fill the silence. He lets it exist. Tonight I turned around, she says, because my daughter has not eaten a real meal in 2 days and I had a decision to make. I could leave this room the way I always leave every room, quietly, with nothing, having asked for nothing. Or I could say the true thing out loud and let someone decide what to do with it. Even if that someone was a stranger. Even if the answer was no. She meets his eyes. I chose the true thing. The quiet that follows is different from every quiet that came before it in this room. It is not measuring quiet. Not waiting quiet. It is the quiet of something that has landed and is staying. He looks at her for a long moment. The position, he says, is Property Operations Manager. The building in question is a 40-unit residential complex I own on the north side. Current management has run it into the ground over 8 months, maintenance ignored, tenant complaints unresolved, 2 code violations pending. He moves to the desk on the far side of the room and picks up a folder that was sitting there, white, plain, no logo, and holds it out to her. Compensation, terms, and start date are all in there. Zarya does not reach for it immediately. You decided this before tonight, she says. I decided you were the person 3 weeks ago, he says. Tonight confirmed it. You could have just offered me the job. I could have, he says. And you would have spent the rest of your time in that role wondering whether you actually earned it, or whether you were just in the right place. This way you know. She looks at the folder in his hand. Looks at his face. Looks back at the folder. She takes it. Opens it right there, standing in the middle of Suite 1416 at 11:30 at night, because she is not the kind of person who takes something home to look at it. She reads the first page in full. Then the second. Her eyes move through every line the way her eyes move through everything, carefully, completely, without skipping the parts printed small. Salary. Benefits. Housing supplement. Title. Start date. Non-disclosure agreement. Reporting structure. Her name already typed at the top of the page, which means he knew it long before she introduced herself. She closes the folder. I have questions, she says. I know, he says. I'll bring them in writing. I'd expect that, he says. And something shifts in his face then, brief, controlled, but real. Not quite a smile. But the place where a smile would be if this were a man who smiled easily, which he is clearly not. Take the food, he says. It's yours. It was always going to be yours. Zarya picks up the plate. Tucks the folder under her arm. Walks to the door. Her hand closes on the handle and she stops, not because she is uncertain, but because there is one thing she still does not know, and it will bother her if she leaves without asking. She turns back. What's your name? She says. He looks at her across the room. The lamp burns amber between them. The city runs its quiet, indifferent light behind his shoulders. He tells her. And something about the way he says it, low, direct, no performance attached, tells her that he does not say it often, and that tonight he meant to. 30 days pass. They pass the way hard months pass when you are inside them, slowly at first, then all at once, then you are standing on the other side wondering how the time moved without you feeling it move. Zarya gives her notice at the Meridian on a Tuesday. Her supervisor, a narrow woman named Patrice who has been managing the housekeeping floor for 11 years and never once learned the names of the staff whose schedules she controls, receives the notice without looking up from her desk. Zarya does not expect more than that. She has stopped expecting things from people who have decided she is not worth seeing. She spends the last 2 weeks of her notice period the same way she has spent every shift for 3 years, efficiently, completely, without a single thing left undone or half-finished. On her last day she strips the supply cart, returns every item to its designated shelf in the storage room, and tapes a note to the hook where her name badge hung. The note has 2 lines: the badge return date and her locker combination, in case the next person assigned to that cart needs it. She does not know the next person's name. It does not stop her from leaving the information. She takes Camille's photograph off the shelf, holds it for a moment in the storage room under the fluorescent light. Camille's gap-toothed grin. March light in the school photo. Both front teeth missing, both adult teeth already pushing through at the gum line in the most recent pictures, changing her face by small degrees the way children's faces change, quickly, permanently, and always when you think you have memorized the last version. She puts the photograph in her jacket pocket and walks out. The north side building is called Aldrin Court. 42 units across 6 floors. She walks it on her first day with a yellow legal pad and a pen, top floor to bottom, making notes in the margins the way her grandmother taught her to read a place. Start with what is broken, then find what is strong, then decide what order things need to happen in. Broken, the boiler in units 3B and 3C. The intercom panel in the lobby. 4 mailbox locks on the 2nd floor that have not worked since before summer. A water stain on the ceiling of the 2nd floor hallway that maintenance has painted over 3 times without addressing the pipe above it. Strong, the bones of the building. The original windows still sealed well. The tenants themselves, 12 of the 14 she speaks to on the first day, are people who have lived there for more than 2 years, who leave their hallways clean, who know their neighbors' names. She calls the boiler contractor that afternoon. Schedules the intercom repair for Thursday. Orders the mailbox hardware herself and installs 2 of the 4 locks before 5 o'clock with a kit from the hardware store 2 blocks over. By the end of the first week, 4 tenant complaints have been resolved that had been open for months. By the end of the 2nd week, the code violation inspector signs off on both pending violations after she walks him through the corrections herself. She does not hear from Marcus Ewan, that is his name, the name he gave her in Suite 1416, low and direct and without performance, for the first 3 weeks. Not a call. Not a message. Not any sign that he is paying attention to what she is doing or how she is doing it. On the 22nd day, a brief email arrives. 4 words. The violations are clear? She writes back in 1 sentence, cleared on day 14. Documentation attached. His response comes 11 minutes later. 2 words. Good work. She reads it twice. Sets her phone face down on the desk and goes back to the maintenance log she was building. She does not know what she expected, something more, something larger, some signal that the last 3 weeks added up to something. But she thinks about what he said in Suite 1416, about the difference between people who perform and people who are. She thinks about the fact that 4 words from a man who uses them carefully is more than most people get. She picks the phone back up. Looks at the 2 words one more time. Then she goes back to work. 6 weeks in, he comes to the building. She does not know he is coming. There is no call, no email, no message the night before. She is in the lobby at 8:15 in the morning replacing a burnout light panel when the front door opens and Marcus Ewan walks in wearing the same kind of clothes he wore in the hotel, all black, unhurried, his eyes moving across the lobby the way a person's eyes move when they are reading something they have read before and checking to see if anything has changed. Things have changed. The intercom panel gleams on the wall, new plate, new wiring, every button labeled in clean block lettering. The mailboxes on the back wall all have working locks. The light in the northeast corner that has apparently been out since the previous summer is back on. The floor is clean in a way that is not just mopped, clean in the way floors get when someone has addressed the source of the grime rather than just covering it on a schedule. He looks at all of it. Slowly. Completely. Then he looks at her. You're early, he says. I'm always early, she says. It's the only part of the day that belongs entirely to me. He moves through the lobby without being invited to, not as someone inspecting, not as someone who needs a tour, but as someone walking through a space he owns and noticing that it feels different from the last time he was in it. He stops at the intercom panel. Runs one finger along the edge of the new plate. Does not comment. Moves to the mailboxes. Tries one. The lock turns clean and smooth, the way new hardware turns when it has been installed by someone who did it right. He comes back and stands a few feet from where she is finishing the light panel. The boiler, he says. Fully serviced, she says. Parts replaced on units 3B and 3C. Warranty documentation is in the binder on the office desk, tabbed. The water damage in the second floor hallway. Pipe above it was a slow leak at the joint. Plumber fixed it on day 9. The ceiling was replastered and painted on day 12. No recurrence. Code violations. Cleared on day 14. He is quiet. Not the quiet of a man processing new information, the quiet of a man confirming what he already knew. Tenant retention, he says. 38 of 42 units occupied, she says. 2 vacancies were already in place when I arrived. 1 unit is in the process of being rented, showing scheduled for this Saturday. The 4th vacancy I'm still assessing. There's a situation in 4D I want to understand before I recommend filling it. He looks at her. What situation? The tenant in 4C has been leaving notes under the 4D door, she says. Handwritten. I found 3 in the recycling bin in the hallway. The language is threatening. The previous management ignored it. I'm not going to ignore it. I want to speak with both tenants before anyone new moves into that unit. The quiet that follows is not like the quiet in the hotel room 6 weeks ago. It is warmer. More settled. The quiet of 2 people who have been operating in the same direction and are now standing in the same place long enough to see that clearly. You found threatening notes in a recycling bin, he says. I read everything, she says simply. He looks at her for a long moment. Something moves in his face, the same thing she saw in Suite 1416, that fast, controlled shift, but this time it stays a second longer before it goes. I'm going to transfer management of 2 additional properties to this office, he says. 1 on the west side, 1 in the warehouse district. Both need the same assessment you ran here. He pauses. Your compensation adjusts accordingly. The new terms will come by email today. Zarya finishes installing the light panel. Closes the cover. Stands up straight. I'll read them tonight, she says. I'll have questions. I know, he says. I'll send them in writing. I'd expect that, he says. And there it is again, that place in his face where a smile would be. It lasts a full 2 seconds this time. That is the longest she has seen it hold. She looks at him in the clean, well-lit lobby of Aldrin Court and feels something she has not felt in a very long time. Not relief, not gratitude, not the complicated weight of receiving something after wanting it for too long. Something quieter than all of those things. The feeling of being exactly where her choices led her. 3 months after the night in Suite 1416, Zarya is sitting at the desk in the Aldrin Court management office at 7 in the morning with a cup of coffee and the maintenance log for all 3 properties open on the screen in front of her. The desk is hers. The chair is hers. The job is hers, not given, not granted, not assigned to her because someone decided to do her a favor. Hers because she earned it in the way you can only earn something by being exactly yourself in the moment that counted and then being exactly yourself in every moment after. Camille's photograph is on the corner of the desk. Both front teeth have fully grown in now. The gap is gone. Her face has changed again in the way children's faces change, quietly, completely, without warning, and Zarya is glad she has been paying attention. Glad she has been home enough to notice. Her mother's dialysis runs Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Zarya's schedule accommodates this without her having to ask for permission or explain the reason or calculate which shift to swap to make it work. She arranged her own hours when she took the job. She told Marcus what she needed before she signed anything. He said noted, and he meant it, and that was the end of it. She manages 42 units at Aldrin Court, 38 on the West Side property, and 51 in the warehouse district, 131 units total, 131 families with pipes that need fixing and leases that need honoring and lights and lobbies that need to be replaced before they burn out completely. She handles all of it the same way she handled everything before this, carefully, completely, without leaving anything half-finished. She and Marcus speak twice a week. Calls brief. Emails factual. Occasionally he appears at one of the properties without notice. She has learned to read this, not as surveillance but as the way a man who has spent his life trusting almost no one moves through the world when he has decided to trust someone. He checks in not because he doubts her but because he is not yet sure what to do with a person he does not doubt. She is patient about this. She has been patient about harder things. On a Thursday in the 3rd month, Marcus calls at 4 in the afternoon, not his usual time. "Walk with me tonight," he says. Not an invitation. Not quite a command. Something in between, which is the closest he comes to asking for things. They walk the perimeter of the warehouse district property in the October cold, the kind of cold that makes the city feel smaller and more honest. She shows him the exterior drainage issues she found on the northwest corner. She shows him the fire exit on the 3rd floor that the previous management had propped open with a cinder block, which she removed on her 2nd visit. She shows him the rooftop she is planning to propose as a community garden for the tenants because 3 of them asked for outdoor space and she thinks they are right to want it. He listens to all of it. When they reach the front of the building again he stops walking and turns to face her, and the city runs its cold October light over both of them, and he is quiet for a moment in the particular way he is quiet when he is about to say something he has been carrying for a while. "You could have taken that food," he says. "That night. Nothing would have happened. No one would have known." "I know," she says. "But you didn't." "No." "Why not?" "The real reason. Not the principle." She thinks about it. Not because she doesn't know the answer but because the answer deserves to be said correctly. "Because the day I start taking things that haven't been given to me," she says, "is the day I become someone I can't respect. And I need to be able to respect myself. For Camille. For my mother. But mostly just for me." He looks at her for a long moment in the October cold. "The rooftop garden," he says. "Get me a proposal." She nods. They stand there for another moment in the kind of quiet that has stopped being uncomfortable, the kind that exists between 2 people who have been measuring each other long enough to know the measurement is done. She came into Suite 1416 that night asking for leftovers. She left with 3 properties, a salary she did not have to beg for, and proof of something she already knew about herself but had never had a room big enough to demonstrate it in. Integrity does not need an audience to be real. But sometimes, not always, not predictably, not on any schedule you can plan around, the right person is watching. And when that happens, the thing you chose to be in the dark becomes the exact thing that changes everything in the light. That is the whole story. That is every word of it. If this story moved you, if Zaria's quiet strength said something you needed to hear today, subscribe to this channel right now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story like this one. Every week we bring you real, powerful stories about dignity, resilience, and what happens when ordinary people refuse to compromise who they are. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that integrity is never wasted. And drop a comment below. Tell me the one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words inspire the next person who finds this channel. See you in the next story.